popular Russian philosopher Fyodor Dostoevsky wrote a really good book called Notes from Underground. And I think this character, this is a common take, that this character is sort of a representation of the modern incel and kind of embodies a lot of attitudes modern men have, especially young men as well. Before we talk about this book, I just want to say that I'm actually so not locked in, bro. I haven't posted in 3 days. Now I've just lost all my skill. Can't talk to a camera anymore. I'm actually so cooked. But a lot of my videos haven't been about philosophy so far, despite the name of the channel being Josiah's Philosophy. But I want to cover a lot more about philosophy. I was kind of covering some random subjects to kind of establish that this channel isn't really about philosophy, kind of just the name. But yeah, that's all I say about that. But I think with Notes from Underground, you might find that you are a lot like the protagonist, the Underground Man. He doesn't have a name, but that's what we call him. You'll find that you're a lot like him, but you likely won't like this very much. You'll say, yeah, I share a lot of things with him, but he's not a good person. No, he doesn't do evil things necessarily. He's very spiteful, very resistant to people, very arrogant, and very miserable. I think ultimately what the Underground Man wants is freedom. And this freedom will cost him his happiness. And he resists people. And I think he sees what attachments come from having relationships. And he's unbound from social standards in that regard. But that doesn't make you very free, because then you're restricted from socialization. You're restricted from one of the biggest parts of life. And if you ask, I think it's like the 3 C's of life purpose. I know one of them is connection. I forget where that's from. But connection is thought of a very important part of life, and you're restricting yourself from happiness in the pursuit of freedom. I think that's a lot of what he does. And I actually do think, since he puts freedom above happiness, he sees happiness as a shallow pursuit, and he sees trying to do anything but suffer as naive. He thinks suffering is fundamental to human life. And the other way I think he's very much like a modern incel is that he very much does resent society. He feels alienated, and he blames his alienation on them. And you'll see this throughout the book. And I think if you're anything like this, you'll be quite humbled by it, like I was in a lot of ways. I think there's 2 events that I found very interesting and quite entertaining, honestly. There's this police officer, I don't know if it's part of a police station or not, but he essentially spends like weeks, or maybe like a full week, just fantasizing about like bumping arms with this officer because he dislikes him. And the reason he dislikes him is, I think, because he just like has a loud sword that like clanks on his belt, and he finds that obnoxious. There might have been something else he dislikes about the officer as well, but he dislikes his officer. So he just fantasizes about bumping arms with this officer. And I think for a while the officer just like didn't show up on his path that he walks every morning. So ultimately this pursuit was very stupid. I don't think he was successful. I can't remember exactly how that ended, but I think that can be representative of a lot of things in our life. We're just trying to do something that's not going to benefit us, just to even get back at somebody a little bit. Just get back at society a little bit, you know. And another thing, he goes to a party that he's not invited to, and he is just extremely rude the whole time. And what he does at this party is he just like paces around the whole time and acts like he doesn't want to talk to these people. And I think they're actually fairly polite to him. They offer him, if they I think they give him drinks and stuff. I think he like just like kind of knows the person who is orchestrating the party, and they're fairly like kind to him, but he's just adamant that he's not interested. He's just there for that purpose, to let everybody know that he's not interested. And I think this kind of illustrates a lot of the behavior modern incels show online. So I think I find that scene quite entertaining. Ultimately, I think Notes from Underground is kind of a critique of hyper-rationalism and like just, I think you get the underground man when you kind of dispose of happiness. You can really take your principles to any extreme you would like, but if you're not happy, there's no point in following those principles. You're kind of just ideologically dedicated to them for no reason. So I think that's kind of what the cautionary tale here is just to, if what you're doing isn't making you happy, stop doing it. And the underground man is not happy, and he's very proud about his misery. And I think to a certain extent he gets a sick satisfaction from being miserable, and he gets enjoyment from being right. He knows what he's doing will make him miserable, but he believes that everybody's miserable and that that's all you can be as a human. So I think, and he thinks he's doing like the ultimate good, which is telling or being truthful with himself. So I think that's kind of where his satisfaction comes from. I'm not sure how happy exactly he is, but I don't think he's living a very fulfilling life, if you ask me. I would like to see someone argue the opposite, though. I would like to see how they would do that. And I also think it's kind of an illustration of how isolation happens, and oftentimes why people isolate. I think my reasons for isolating are somewhat similar, but ultimately kind of on the same path. I think one of my favorite things about this book is that at the very end, he basically concludes. So the whole time, this journal, or the book is just like a journal of his, and he's just writing to himself. He doesn't plan on publishing or anything. So we're like looking directly into his mind. This isn't something he published. At the end of the book, he concludes that he's going to end his journal, and that he's going to stop here. He's journaled enough. He's documented everything he needs to. And then at the very end, there's like an author's note that says he didn't stop. He just went on going. And I find that I kind of feel outed in that, because I do that a lot in my journals. Like before bed, I'll journal a bit, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to sleep now, and then I'll end up journaling a whole nother paragraph, bro. So I feel a bit called out on that one. And in fact, I feel called out through this whole book, and I may, compared to some young men, I might exhibit a lot less of these behaviors, but I definitely still see them, and I'm trying to work on getting rid of some of them. I think that's kind of the biggest takeaway I've had, is just there's certain areas you don't always need complete freedom in, and I'm actually kind of re-exploring what ideas are really what freedom means to me. And yeah, this was a very important read for me, quite humbling as well. And I think you should get